In this video, I will be sharing with you the top 7 insights I gained from reading the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And yes, they just so happen to be the 7 habits. I mean, you might as well start with the top 7, right? Now, if you want to get book insights and book notes on all these habits, I have my own book notes on this. If you want that for free, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get it. So, without further ado, let's get to number 1. Number 1 is be proactive. Now, although this may seem like common sense, it's actually not common sense. What they mean by be proactive is you have to take initiative rather than play the victim. Most average performers and most people are reactive. They let the world happen to them. They're victims in this game. When something bad happens to them, they just sit there and waste one precious hour of their short life, their short time on this earth, complaining or playing the victim game. How come this happened to me? How come this? And they're pretty much 1 hour worse for it. They've just wasted an hour being pissed off or sad about themselves, and they're no better than when they started. So top performers are proactive. They take initiative rather than have people or the environment take advantage of them. Number 2, begin with the end in mind. Now, this is another one that's tricky because it seems like common sense, but common sense is not so common, in fact. So what this means is that you really have to figure out what you really want in life. And I talk about this much more in my long form videos where I just discuss, success. But what this actually means is you have to figure out what you really want, because oftentimes a lot of people are chasing what they think they want, or they're so concerned about the next step that they're moving in a direction far off from where they actually want to be headed. So for instance, if your goal is to be happy in life, then perhaps you should pursue what will bring about that happiness. Maybe you just want to have a chill lifestyle. However, guess what happens? Most people, they get distracted. So they start chasing other things thinking that'll bring them happiness. They think $1 million will make them happier. Or they go through this convoluted route and they screw themselves over. The most common example is the guy who just wants to have more family time. So he gets caught up in quitting his 9-to-5 job, quitting this office job, going to start this whole business, and eventually he's making millions of dollars. But he's never there for his family. He's like always at work, and even though he has the money, he can't walk away from the money because he's lost sight of what really mattered and what he really wanted, and he's miserable all day. So keep that in mind. Number 3, put first things first. This is a lesson in productivity and not procrastinating. So long story short, what this means is you have to figure out what's truly important. And he brings out this quadrant exercise. There's 4 quadrants, and again, they talk about this numerous times in a lot of success books, so I've heard it numerous times. For you newbies, it's probably new, but the basic idea is there's 4 quadrants: important and urgent, important and not urgent, urgent but not important, and not important and not urgent. And guess what? You want to avoid the stuff that's not important and not urgent. And you want to start with the stuff that's urgent and important. Guess what most people do? What do most average people do? They just screw around. They just do whatever they want to do. And they think this is important. But when you actually write it out, you realize that most individuals are wasting 3 to 5 to 10 hours a day watching Game of Thrones or something on Netflix. Number 4, think win-win. So this is a huge one because although it's simple in nature, most people don't exercise it. So a win-win situation is one where both parties leave better off than they came about. However, most people play win-lose. How can I benefit even if it means hurting you or taking something away from you? And this was probably the most insightful thing from the book for me, because he made the point that if you think it's win-win and it's not working out, perhaps it's not truly win-win. And that was just huge because, some people think, oh, I'm already doing win-win. It's like, no, you're not. That guy's really not really benefiting much from what you're doing. So figure that out. Number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. So this one's kind of common sense, but again, how many people just talk first and never listen? They never really, care or bother to listen to what you have to say and figure out what your perspective is, where you're coming from, and so forth. A lot of people shoot first, ask questions later, and it's a bit of a tragedy. Number 6, synergize. So by synergize, what this means is that you want to come together and you want to find situations where 1 + 1 = 3. You want to find people that work so well with you that you create results that are not in a linear fashion. It's not 1 + 1 = 2, it's 1 + 1 = 3 or 10. Number 7, this is the last one, sharpen the saw. So what this pretty much means is that constantly on a daily basis, you want to hone your craft, hone your body, and sharpen your mind. All these things are things that need fuel, need the right energy, the right resources, the right skill set to cultivate and grow on a daily basis. And most people are not doing this. They're not exercising their brain. They're not exercising their body. And guess what happens when you don't do those things? When your mind, when your brain, when your spirit, all these things are not exercised, you screw up. You end up decaying. Your body gets worse. You perform worse. Everything goes horribly. And I truly believe that if you took the time to do things like yoga, like cardio, like maybe a little bit of weightlifting and strength training in areas that are not really emphasized much by mainstream society, these things can help you. Sharpen your mind too. Play memory games. Work on these things. It'll keep you at the top, and I guarantee you this can translate into 2 or 3 or 4 times the results you're getting now. And it won't happen overnight, but trust me, I can't tell you how many times I've seen top performers, some of the most successful people on earth, mention how they meditate or how they do this or that. Let me just list you like 5 or 10 people that you might not think meditate, but they do. Ellen DeGeneres, Russell Simmons, he's a huge hip hop artist. Tony Robbins, the billionaire money manager, Ray Dalio, he meditates. The list goes on and on. So figure out, what are you doing wrong? At least implement one of these habits. Now, if you want to get book insights and book notes on all these habits, I have my own book notes on this. If you want that for free, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get it, because I'm rating this a fluff score of a 4 out of 10, which is still fairly low. There's a decent amount of fluff in this book, and a bunch of it didn't really help, but there's a substantial amount of this book that's meat, and it's not something that you can really get the most out of just by literally watching this video of the 7 facts. A summary doesn't do this book justice, and I highly recommend that you actually read the book. And so down below I will include a way of getting a free audiobook version of this book, and it probably won't last forever, so you have to check the description to see if it's still available. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.